Coming up on our latest show with, well, yeah, I like that coming up. On our latest show, with the success of Bohemian Rhapsody, what other music biopics do we have in mind? The future of Blizzard after BlizzCon, and should the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame still be called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? All this called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our programs. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is the lead singer at Humanica Media. You gotta check out all the great things going on today at humanicamedia.com, Humanica Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so much more. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. Get ready to sing that high note, my friend. It's another great week coming up in pop culture.
Sorry, my dog's barking. Yep. Super stoked, man. Super stoked. Lots of good pop culture stuff going on here. And I'm actually looking forward to this conversation we're about to have here. So without further ado, please lead on.
Thank you, my friend. I just want to go ahead and let everybody know we've got a great episode along with our talks as well coming up in regards to some great music biopic ideas we have with the success of Bohemian Rhapsody. Also, as well, on the back end of the show, we'll be talking about the latest updates that went on at BlizzCon and the future of Blizzard itself, because I think right now it's kind of like a transition year, not a whole lot of great news. And going forward, is Blizzard's status as the top of the food chain when it comes to the AAA game market, is that still there, or is it changing because of all the other great games that are out there? We'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll talk about that at the back end of the show. Plus, also as well, we have Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. He's going to recap some stuff that went on in Week 9 in the NFL. Jessica Boggs from the TV Ratings Guide and the TVRatingsGuide.com. She is stopping by as well she's going to be stopping by as well to talk more TV updates when it comes to cable outlets and the CW, which she absolutely loves and adores everything that's going on in the CW. We also have, we have a great conversation that we wanted to go ahead and present to you today when it comes to with Mike Faber from the ESO Network and also Kevin Eldridge from the Flopcast. They're going to be stopping by as well to talk. Well, I threw out this question. With all the changes and what goes on with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the way the voting process and the election and the nominees process has occurred over the years, should the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame still be called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? We're going to propose, I proposed a scenario with a new name on it, and we're going to have that conversation here coming up in a little bit as well. Before we head into our conversation, Josh, want to thank everyone out there for watching our live streams over the weekend, both your PCC Gamescast, an extra special long one for everyone out there, and also my stream on Mixer of Gears of War, all to benefit everything that was going on with Extra Life, and of course, our charity that we're related with our good friends at Retro City Games when it comes to supporting the St. Rose Dominican hospitals here in the Las Vegas area. If you'd still like to go ahead and contribute, we have a link that's up on the Retro City Games Facebook page, and it's also been plastered all over our social media on GameSource, Humanica Media, and Pop Culture Cosmos as well. Hopefully, you'll be able to go ahead and contribute, and if you do, thank you so much for doing so. Also doing a little bit more house cleaning, my friend. PopCultureCosmos.com is live. You got to check it out today. There's so many great reviews, articles, and so much more. Not only stuff that we transferred over from our WordPress site, but also as well a lot of new things that are coming, new things that we've put out there, including a top 200 video game list that our followers out there voted on, and we just cannot thank them enough for taking the time to do so. So that again is our top 200 list. You got to check it out for the top 200 video games of all time, and also as well all the other great articles, reviews, opinions, and everything else now at popculturecosmos.com, including all the links to all of our shows, all of our podcasts, and all that. It's right there, whether it's Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanic Media, and everybody else that's a great part of our Pop Culture Cosmos scene. Josh, I know you're a fan of the Lord of the Rings like I am, and one of the things that November is all about is great deals. We will again be posting a lot of great deals for Black Friday, so you got to stay tuned to our Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page and also our social media. You got to check that out because I will be going ahead and trying to do everything I can to keep everyone updated on the Black Friday deals that mean the most to everyone out there when it comes to pop culture. So you're going to see a lot of stuff for video games, maybe movies, maybe consumer electronics. You're going to be seeing a lot of stuff coming up in the coming weeks. I'm going to, again, try to devote another page to a lot of those great deals, so you'll be able to go and check out popculturecosmos.com. But my friend, this week, did you get a chance to see the blowout special from Amazon when it comes to Lord of the Rings and the extended version on Blu-ray?
Oh, did you get it? You ordered it?
Precious.
I absolutely love those movies, and as much crap as The Hobbit gets, I ordered the extended trilogy, and I absolutely love it. Because
you got wait, did you get the extended of The Hobbit or the extended of the Lord of the Rings?
I got them both. I got The Hobbit for Christmas, but I've had the Lord of the Rings one. But here's my thing.
Precious.
See, these movies are already over a regular edition. They're over a 2-hour time commitment, right?
That is very much correct.
Okay,
yes.
So why not, if you're going to put the time into it, why not put in the extra 45 minutes and complete the story, you know? Like, even when I'm marathoning something, I feel like I've accomplished something when I sit there for a long time and get through it. With Lord of the Rings, you're getting so much for your money. Like, especially that. How much was that?
This was actually $90 off of list price. So it was actually about $26, $25.99 to be exact, which again is about $90 off list price. And I just cannot be happier because I have it now on Blu-ray. I've had the extended version on DVD. I have it, still kept it nice, still is able to be used, very nice and whatnot. But since there's no 4K version yet, to the best of my knowledge, I've got the extended. I had to get the extended versions on Blu-ray just to be shown and upgraded to the best possible way to view it. I'm just so happy, just so thrilled. Precious.
Okay, right. So let me ask you this. We pay how much for a video game? Like a Shadow of the Tomb Raider, right? I played through that probably in 6-7 hours. That costs $60. $25 for Lord of the Rings, and you're getting about 9 hours worth of entertainment, plus a buttload of extra hours you can spend on the bonus features. So I think that if you were on the fence about that, like, you need to have your sanity checked, because that is probably one of the best deals you could ever have right there.
And unfortunately, it was only a one-day sale, but I would imagine if you keep your eyes on it over the course of the next few weeks, leading up to and including Black Friday and Cyber Monday, I have a feeling this set will go on sale once again. Will it be the $25.99? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think it would probably be somewhere in the high 20s to low 30s, to be honest with you. But I think there will still be a substantial discount at some point in time for this set. We'll keep an eye on it too, and if we get wind of another great deal on it, we'll go ahead and spread that out to our followers out there. But yeah, at $25.99, it was just something that we as a family, especially my wife and I, who are huge Lord of the Rings fans, could not pass up. Precious, my precious. All right, thanks so much for staying around with us right now, Josh. Moving on to our actual subjects of the day, Bohemian Rhapsody killed it at the box office, getting way above expectations. Expectations were in about the low 30s, and it hit right around the $50 million mark this weekend domestically at the box office. It looks like it'll be a film that probably touches on right around the $100 million to $120 million mark domestically here at the box office, which will probably lead to maybe what, $2 to $250 million worldwide, which for a purported $50 million production budget is really a good trade-off for a music biopic. It gets it into the upper stratosphere of music biopics, such as Straight Outta Compton, and there's only a few others that have achieved that kind of success. Your thoughts on why Bohemian Rhapsody was so much a success, and that's going to lead us into our next conversation about our thoughts on other bands that might do it. But before we get on that, let's hear your thoughts on why Bohemian Rhapsody seem to have connected with a lot of viewers out there that went to the movies and actually watched this movie.
Well, I think it's got a couple things going. One, it's just the fact that like these are all songs like Queen was responsible for a lot of the stuff that it spans several generations, right? Like it's stuff that you grew up with, stuff that I kind of grew up with, like watching Mighty Ducks and stuff like that. So it's stuff that like that's been on video games. They were Rock Band, Guitar Hero, things like that. It's music that spans generations. It's kind of, in my opinion, Queen is kind of like complete different genres, but they're kind of like Bob Seger. You know how Bob Seger was popular in movie soundtracks in the 80s and 90s, and he still is played today, and he's finally on his last tour right now. And then not just for nostalgia and the generational gap, but I also think Queen has going for them the fact that Freddie Mercury had all this stuff going on behind the scenes that didn't actually get brought to the spotlight until what I want to say 10, 15 years ago when, people started speaking out about him. But now like that stuff is so socially and culturally relevant that people want to know about it. And the biopic had a good chance to kind of tackle a lot of those things. But I did want to ask you about this though, is the fact that we have people who the band originally did not want to focus on Mercury's, HIV and his struggle with his sexuality and all that stuff. They wanted to focus on the band and how they came together. But as I know you're probably a fan of Queen and you're a fan of movies. How would you have found a way to balance that? How would you have dealt with that? What the band wanted and what should have gone into the movie.
Well, unfortunately, when you're going ahead and creating a movie such as that, you can't do one without the other because they play such a pivotal role within the context of the Queen story. I mean, you cannot just go ahead and detach or diminish or just reduce the amount of importance of the latter stages of the band's success with Freddie Mercury and his ailment as he was getting sicker and sicker and less performances, and the Live Aid, which was his final performance with Queen. I mean, you cannot underestimate how important that was to the actual overall story arc of Queen. Yes, I am certain that Queen wanted to go ahead and have a storytelling of their narrative as a whole and as a group. But while that's great to hear the rags to riches story and how nobody wanted to play them and all that, it still goes without saying that Freddie Mercury was the face of Queen. He is what everybody knows, and basically everybody hears when they listen to their songs. So his his prominence out there and being at the forefront of Queen for so many years, and unfortunately his affliction and his downfall being the reason why Queen became no more and could have done so much more, but unfortunately couldn't because of his ailment. It just goes without saying that you cannot have, basically, you have to bookend one with the other. You cannot have a predominant movie about Queen's rise to fame and then just put his ailment and his tragic ending on the side and just leave it as a sidebar. that is basically what people were drawn in to see, is the Freddie Mercury character. And to me, quite honest with you, people were more focused on Remy Malek's performance than the actual story of Queen itself. I'm assuming that most are when they go to the theaters. And of course, the way they're portraying the movie and they're advertising the movie and they're budgeting for the movie is that they wanted to go ahead and have more of a story of what about Freddie Mercury than about Queen itself. And just Queen is almost becomes a sidebar, but hopefully they were able to manage it in a way where it's more like of a 50-50, 60-40 type deal with Freddie Mercury, because that's again the biggest selling point of the film is Freddie Mercury himself.
Right, and it's hard to really like go into, you know, what inspired these great songs. What was the madness behind it all without really diving into the persona that was Freddie Mercury. And from what I understand, like the reviews I've been reading, a lot of people say that they didn't dive far enough into it. And Remy Malik was absolutely amazing, but he didn't get the script that he deserved. And so I haven't seen it yet. I do want to go kind of check it out, but
So do I. So do I. But yes, the reviews are mixed for it, even though Remy Malik may still get a lot of notice. And as far as possibly during award season for his performance, it is getting an A grade from the cinema scores. So the audiences themselves are truly enjoying it, even though the critics are kind of like you said, this overall story arc is whatnot. Again, I think it should have been an R rated film. I think they should have gotten, as far as whether it's Remy Malek or Sacha Baron Cohen, who is also rumored to play the role. And while it was in its development years, which was many, many years, because there was a lot of issues and entanglements behind the scenes, at some point, Sacha Baron Cohen was tied to the Freddie Mercury character. Unfortunately, tied to play Freddie Mercury. That didn't work out. Remy Malek looks like he came in and did a fine job playing Freddie Mercury, but you're right, he wasn't given enough on that realm. And I think a lot of it is in large part due to the fact it wasn't going all out or couldn't go all out because it had a PG-13 rating.
right, right. And I remember the first time I saw Remy Malik like acting on screen when I was watching The Pacific on HBO, and like there was something about him that gave me like it wasn't even I don't even want to say it was the creeps. It was just like he dove so deep into such a demented character that I was just blown away by it, absolutely blown away. And I jumped at the chance to see him in anything else he could have been in. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I was trying to think today, like if so, you know how the Doors did a comeback tour and they had Brett Scallions from Fuel took over the role of the lead singer for Jim Morrison. I would love to see the guy from Panic at the Disco do a reunion tour with Queen. That would be cool to me because I feel like he's got the vocal chops to pull it off.
That would be awesome. A lot like the young man who Journey replaced, who Journey got to
Right?
replace Steve Perry. That guy is a dead ringer,
Oh yeah.
absolute dead ringer for Steve Perry. Great that Steve Perry is back doing his own stuff and his own material, and his maybe alluded to possibly actually working once again with Journey, although he's doing his own thing right now. But his replacement has done an outstanding job of going forward and sounding exactly like Steve Perry. But you're right, he would be an awesome pick for doing something with Queen as far as being the front man for it. But that leads me into our last question on this subject, my friend, and that is, if you were to make a music biopic, if you were that music executive, what groups, bands, or artists in the music industry would you lean into as far as making a music biopic that you know would be of good quality, but also translate well with audiences? Because at the end of the day, man, at the end of the day, man, it's all about the cashola.
Okay, so here I'll just these aren't in any particular order. My Chemical Romance because they really did define an entire generation of music. You know, my generation. So like generations before had they had grunge, and then before that there was hair metal. Before that there was the birth of prog rock, and so on and so forth. For my generation, as far as emo music was concerned, like My Chemical Romance was it. Like, they were so polarizing because they're like, you know, it wasn't cool back then to be emo, but at the same time it was, you know, like, you don't want to be this vulnerable because people are going to make fun of you, and that's how you got bullied. But then look where we are now, 10, 15 years later, where people are being vulnerable and it's not cool to be a bully. So the tables have really turned there. But My Chemical Romance was the first band. Like, uh Gerard Way was kind of the first person to really put his depression and suicidal thoughts on, you know, out in the public eye there. And they really did, you know, you ask a lot of like screamo and modern emo bands, even some of the post-hardcore movement about who inspired them, and they'll say My Chemical Romance. So just seeing how that all came together, I love that. Pearl Jam is another one. I don't know if you've read any of the Pearl Jam biographies that are out there, but I like I'm fascinated with the idea that Chris Cornell was responsible for creating Pearl Jam. And back then they're called Mookie Blaylock, and they got a lawsuit from Mookie Blaylock because they were basically stealing his name for a band. But Chris Cornell ended up dropping out of Pearl Jam to do Soundgarden, and they eventually came back together to do Temple of Dog. But anyways, Pearl Jam had recorded this stuff, and they sent it off to a Eddie Vedder, who at the time was living in a van. And so they sent him this stuff, and he just put vocals over it. So like, he didn't actually have any like part in the writing process of 10. It's kind of like someone sent him a soundtrack without vocals, and he put his vocals on top of it, and that's how the legend was born. So I think that would be a really cool biography, just to see how that all came together. And then my third one would probably be a band called 100 Reasons, because we don't really talk about, with the exception of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, the music scene in England kind of disappeared in American culture after that for a while. Sorry. But 100 Reasons kind of brought it back with blending rock and post-hardcore together, and they are still one of the biggest bands over there, and they are now touring under the name of Undead Raisins, doing their old stuff acoustically now. So I would love to see that, you know, and how they got big and they ended up touring with Thrice and 10 Year and stuff like that. But uh I want to ask you this, Gerald. Who do you think would make a good biopic?
Well, before I get to my list, I wanted to add one in there that just popped into my head while you were talking. And when it comes to 80s bands, they don't usually have, for the most part, maybe maybe a group like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, but for the most part, they don't have a artist bands or whatnot that really has that super tragic ending, has many of those super tragic endings, or that we're hearing about with a lot of these 90s bands like the Cranberries and some others that were out there that you are more familiar with, because a lot of these 90s bands have really had some tragic endings, some bad breakups, some bad things happen to them. There, of course, 80s bands did too from time to time, but for the most part, we're hearing a lot of these drama stories about that could be developed about 90s bands. I know the one that I've thought about as well recently when I was talking to you about this was Oasis with the Gallagher brothers. Those two, I would love to get like an R-rated drama of those two characters, of actors playing those two, and the type of arguments that they had and the bad breakup and the success that they could have had, because they left out literally on top of the world with their music, and literally just because of their issues walked away from each other and could still perform today. But unfortunately, they just cannot stand, from what all appearances, they cannot stand each other or anything. So it doesn't look like Oasis will be getting back anytime soon. But just to get an idea or a dramatization of that breakup between those two brothers and the rise to success of Oasis would be kind of cool. Journey, we talked about a little bit, and seeing them as far as their heights to success, and then Steve Perry's messy breakup with with Journey initially. I'd like to see and hear more about that. The one I'd probably say is probably fits best, because the fact that they had success outside of their general band as well. So, but thankfully, there's not been too much tragedy as far as the group itself after that, is Van Halen. Van Halen would be great to have that that interplay with the reunion tours, the breakups, the uh, you know. As far as all the different band members that have come in, Sammy Hagar coming in, Sammy Hagar being kicked out, reunion tours, the Michael Anthony getting kicked out for the Van Halen's son, those type of things, just the juice behind those as far as over the course of the almost 40 years now that they've been, since they started playing with each other. It's just that would be cool to see and hear, because that would be some cool, juicy behind the scenes stuff as well. So I think Van Halen, Journey, Oasis, those will all be great stories. And Duran Duran, I would probably think that would be a great story to tell as far as the birth or the early rise of British pop music in the 80s that really dominated a great part of the 80s scene. And Duran Duran was at the front of it. And as far as being that band that a lot of the kids loved, and when they debuted with the Rio album, and they had that look and they had all the girls screaming and whatnot for them, and the fact that they were the face of MTV at one time, and the fact that they were able to go ahead after a fall from grace, as far as with the listeners out there, that they were able to rebirth themselves in the early 90s with a successful album. And I don't know if they're still continuing to tour today, but have that type of success once again with an album that they made in the 90s, rebirthing them into the listening atmosphere as far as making them successful once again. That would be a nice story to tell. Doesn't have a tragic ending like what we're seeing with Queen, but I think it would still be a great story nonetheless.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would definitely love to see what happened to Oasis. I feel like Van Halen would be like watching somebody's social media feed light up with all of these people just disagreeing with each other and looking to climb down each other's throats. I think that Van Halen is influential as they are. I feel like they're far too immature to be in a band, because you look at Metallica and their issues are way worse than what Van Halen's were, but they still stomached each other enough to put out 2 or 3 new albums following the late 90s.
Well, if you were going to go off of immaturity, Oasis is at the top of the list.
Oh yeah, just two brothers you can't get along with each other. Do you remember a band, you've heard Chevelle, right?
Yes.
So originally they were 3 brothers in the band, and then they kicked one of the brothers out. There's some kind of creative differences or whatever, but the lead singer is Sam Loeffler, if I remember what his name is. He wrote an entire album called that came after is their third album. I want to say it was Venus Sarah, but he wrote an entire album about how much he hated the brother that they kicked out of the band. So there's a lot of immaturity going on there, especially within creatives, and it's just it's one of those things, comes with the territory.
But I will say the telling of the Queen story, Bohemian Rhapsody, has gotten off to a great and a much better than expected start. Truly props to them for doing so. You and I have got to go check out the film. I know that it's going to be one of the movies that we got to see before the end of the year if Rami Malek's performance is as good as everyone says it is. The movie has been, like I said, with critics, it's been tossed about as being okay, not okay, really bad, really good. It's all over the place. But with fans, it's getting a great rating, and ultimately, that's what matters. What are your thoughts on Bohemian Rhapsody? Did you check it out this weekend? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? How was Rami Malek's performance as Freddie Mercury? Should a telling of the Queen story be focused more on him or on Queen? And what are your thoughts out there on a band or a group or an artist from any diverse background possibly getting a biopic? We'd love to hear your ideas on that. And what do you think of our ideas? Let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, like I said, we've got a great show we've got for you today. We've got Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast coming up. Also as well, Jessica Boggs from theTVRatingsGuide.com. TheTVRatingsGuide.com, just to let you know, also did a really extended feature article on the Pop Culture Cosmos. So you got to check it out on their great site, TheTVRatingsGuide.com. She's going to be Jessica's going to be talking a lot about cable and also the CW as well coming up, and on top of that, we've got an extra conversation with Mike Faber from the ESO Network and Kevin Eldridge from the Flopcast talking about the the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And after that, Josh and I will be back on the back end of the show, quickly talking about BlizzCon, what happened, and was it enough to keep everyone interested in Blizzard, in what's going on at Blizzard. But first, we've got a great song coming up right now from our good friend Warren Fernandez. He's here, Warren Fernandez, aka Emoji Engine. You got to check out all of his great songs today on Bandcamp. Just type in Emoji Engine. That's right. Just type in Emoji Engine. That's EMOJIENJIN. This is Modern Mythology, and this is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. Want to thank Tyler Baker, Jessica Boggs, Mike Faber, Kevin Eldridge, and Warren Fernandez for all contributing to the show today. Cannot thank them enough for doing so. If you need a listing of all of all the networks that we're on radio, because we're being played all around the world on 15 different great stations, 7 days a week, we're going to be somewhere played sometime and whatnot. If you need that listing and schedule of where we're at, check it out today on Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source on Facebook. It also has many of our over 30 great podcast networks, including Podbean, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well. My friend, tell you what, a lot going on in Humanica Media now that you're got the popculturecosmos.com site up and running. What is going on with the tremendous things at Humanica Media?
Ooh, just a lot, man. A whole lot going on. Topicocalypse mostly just put out an episode today. Also just maintaining the Pop Culture Cosmos site. So as soon as I catch up on all the work out there, then I will be able to focus on some new and exciting content, which everyone will know about as soon as I know about it.
What about the PCC Gamescast that you got to go ahead and film and record over the weekend in honor of the Extra Life? That's going to be coming as an episode 2 as well, correct?
Yeah, I plan on getting it out there as soon as if I get around to editing it. But for now, you can check it out on the Humanica Media YouTube page.
That comes out in 3 parts right now on YouTube, but hopefully it'll be coming soon to a podcast to you as well. My friend, before we head on out, got a chance to check out everything that's going on with BlizzCon, but unfortunately there wasn't a lot going on at BlizzCon. It didn't seem like there was a lot of big news coming up, in my opinion. I don't know, am I wrong? But I didn't hear really anything new announced that was big. Just characters that were announced for characters that were announced for StarCraft. Options that were brought out for StarCraft 2. Diablo was talked about as Diablo Immortal was talked about as far as a new game coming for their mobile units. That's great. An expansion for Hearthstone. Warcraft 3 is being reimagined. Yay. Just other things, minor things that were coming up for Overwatch, and there's they got a new animated short and a cinematic for WoW, and I don't know, man. Just Destiny, they said Destiny 2 is going free on PC, which is great, but it was already out for free on the consoles, and there's a new character for Heroes of the Storm. Not a whole lot, man, that gets me excited. Not a whole lot of that, pun intended, wow factor there. What do you think is really going on at Blizzard, and do you think they're really going to be able to keep their status as a big AAA game center, especially the fact that there's so many other entities out there that are garnering so much more of the spotlight, with Red Dead Redemption 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, and most importantly, what's going on at Fortnite?
All right, well, here's my opinion of Blizzard is that Blizzard is very isolating when it comes to games, and it's a great idea that they're putting Diablo out on the Switch. Like, absolutely love the thought of that.
And that's coming out this week, Diablo 3 to the Switch. So everybody that hasn't played it yet or has played it and they want to do it again, it's coming out this week on Switch.
So with the exception of like Overwatch though, there's not really a lot of love from Blizzard for console gamers. And as much as like the internet and fanboys will have you believe, I'm still under the impression that console gamers far outnumber PC gamers. But PC gamers are those people who can keep going back and forth to play things, and as soon as like Blizzard comes out with something new, they will take the time to go play it. And because of that, Blizzard has this tendency to focus on people that fans they already have instead of trying to build new ones. And luckily, since World of Warcraft had created such a big following, they've managed to stay on top of their game for so long. But in this new there's so many good games coming out, on the Switch, the Xbox, PlayStation, stuff like that, especially this season. Like there's a whole lot of games. Blizzard's gonna have to do something. It's gonna take more. They haven't had a new Warcraft game come out in a long time, and remastering Warcraft 3. Well, yeah, people will go back and play it. I'm sure it's not putting out new content. It's not. It's like they're just working on things they've already done instead of putting things new out. And I think that even after a while, even PC gamers are going to get tired of that unless they make a move to put console gaming as a priority in their thing, because BlizzCon, while it's popular, it doesn't get nearly as much excitement or hype as like E3 or PAX or something like that. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. And even the League of Legends, which had their world championships recently, I think this weekend or very recent. Hold on, let me check. And even with the League of Legends World Championship happening recently, it's still just even that, which normally garners a lot of attention on streaming outlets. It gets usually a large crowd. It's kind of subdued this year, along with everything that went on at BlizzCon, because not only was there not a lot of stuff that was announced that was effective to a general and wide audience, it just didn't seem that everybody has the kind of interest that they once did with both what's going on with Blizzard and what's also going on with League of Legends. They were just both mainly catering to the hardcore audience that they have, which just supports it without hesitation. But garnering an outside audience doesn't seem to be of interest right now to both entities, because of the fact that Fortnite, Red Dead Redemption 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, they're all doing really well right now, and they're capturing the imagination of a lot of people out there. And maybe they're taking a little bit of a break or just a little bit of a downturn. Maybe we're seeing a little bit of bump in the road for entities like I said, for League of Legends, and also for everything from Blizzard as well. We're seeing a little bit something as far as maybe just a lull from them before next year they come out with more great stuff.
Yeah, I want to say I hope so, because they're definitely they're owned by Activision, but they got talent. There's a lot of stuff that I'm almost sure would look good on consoles and could. I mean, look at what Square's done with the Final Fantasy series. Like they've brought a bunch of people together. Like they've brought Xbox and PlayStation and all that stuff. Like they've created these massive communities, and I think that Blizzard has the same potential to do something like that, but they don't, and I don't know why they don't do it. But I think that they can only ride the coattails of the last Warcraft game for so long before people get tired of it.
Exactly. So right now, I don't see much of a wow factor with what's going on at Blizzard and also League of Legends at this point in time, but things can change. And with just a few tweaks, a few changes, and a few things that they need to do and promote, it could be once again time for games like League of Legends and also WoW and anything else produced by Blizzard to get themselves back into the major spotlight once again. What are your thoughts on what went on with the League of Legends World Championships, and also what went on at BlizzCon? Were you excited about all the announcements at BlizzCon? Were you kind of underwhelmed? What do you see as the future for BlizzCon, the World of Warcraft, and so much more that they have to offer? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. So Josh, it's been another great episode. Really packed with a whole bunch of great stuff and pop culture out there. Got a lot of stuff that we're going to be working on for our popculturecosmos.com website and also our Friday episode of the PCC Multiverse. Any last thoughts on the way out?
Check out the website today at www.popculturecosmos.com, and you can check out everything that we've got going. Gerald is going to be we'll have an exclusive video of Gerald petting the spine of Lord of the Rings extended cuts, like Harry Potter does that book where it makes it open after all the teeth are going.
You know what? That's what I'm gonna do. I will do an unboxing of my
Good.
precious.
Good. It's his precious, guys.
My precious. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. Precious Pop Culture Cosmos.
Yes.
Precious.
This is precious.
Yes. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.